Happy Monday, everyone. Oh, hold on a second. It is telling me I've limited. So today, in today's 10-minute Monday art tips, I am going to be discussing the supplies you need to paint on location, en plein air it's called. That's how the French call it, at least. And it's really important to pack light. You don't want to be hauling a whole bunch of stuff. So, what I've got a small list of supplies for you to take on location. Um, I am fortunate to live in a beautiful, beautiful place in the mountains, Rocky Mountains of the East Kootenays of British Columbia. And I used to go out all the time, and I know a lot of my students and a lot of the viewers watching today like to really paint outdoors. There is something magnificent about it, just absolutely magnificent about painting on the actual scene. You get a lot more vibrancy, a lot more power. You're hearing the birds, you're smelling the fresh air. You are just that, all of that energy from that location winds up in the canvas. I'm going to just do a quick little spiel about the group of 7 and how, if any of you have seen their originals at McMichael or Vancouver Art Gallery, wherever you may have seen them, they have a fantastic sense when they show the little on-location piece that the group have done, and then they can show the large, huge canvas that the painters did back in their studio. The small on-location pieces have a vibrancy and an energy, and they're loose. It makes you have to work really, really quick. And I'm not going to talk a lot today about painting on location because I have done a previous 10-minute Monday on the benefits of it. So please check my past 10 minutes. I believe if it worked out right, I've done a link beneath this video so that you can watch that 10-minute Monday art tips. I talk about why it's important to paint on location, how it will improve your work. So keep that in mind as we talk today. But in the meantime, you need to have a paint palette. This is a paper palette, disposable palette. This is what I use when I go on location. In my studio here, I have a glass palette where I can keep my paints on it, and I cover it up at the end of the day. You can keep your paints fresh for a week or two. But on location, the paper palette is a must. So make sure you are not hauling around a big, huge piece of glass when you're on location. And I also have a plastic container that this palette sits in. This is a 12 by 16 inch palette, and that's the size I recommend. Nothing smaller. The plastic container that I have is from Masterson Art Supplies, and I do recommend it because it's basically like a Tupperware to keep your palette in. There's a base, and it's got a lid that snaps on really firmly, and it makes transporting it very easy. And it holds this size of a 12 by 16 palette. I like to only use 10 colors and 1 tube of paint. The colors that I use are just small tubes of paint. These are, I think, 60 mils. Yes, 60 mils of paint. So you can carry around 10 tubes of these plus 1 tube of white, 11 tubes. When you're on location, you do not need a whole variety of colors. You just need the basics. An ultramarine, a raw umber. I have a specific list that I do recommend. If you want to get in touch with me and ask me my color list, please do so. I will gladly share that with you. So these I just throw in a backpack. Easy to transport. Not too much weight. You will need a simple palette knife. And you will need a piece of chalk because it's really important to chalk on your sketch at the very beginning so that you can remember. You have to memorize what it is you're working on. You want to, the scene on when you're outdoors changes rapidly, so you want to have it a set scene, memorized, because the light's going to change, the shadows are going to change. You're going to be sitting there for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the time may be. You need to have it drawn on so that you do not keep changing every 10 minutes. Oh, the light pattern has changed. So make sure that you take a piece of chalk and get that on in a hurry. You don't want to spend too long planning out your sketch or figuring out what you're going to do. Just get at it. Get down to business. That's why you're there. Enjoy the moment. It's going to be freeing. You're going to be loose. It's just going to happen for you. So my brushes, you don't need very many brushes either. Just a few brushes, and I do recommend you do a small canvas while you're on location, because like I said, you're only there for a short while. This is to get your impressions. A lot of times I can sign and sell my paintings. I'm happy, I'm finished with it after they've been on location. As the group of 7 did some really successful paintings on outdoors, Tom Thompson was a master at painting outdoors. Some of his best pieces were his on location ones. So it can be a finished painting, or perhaps it can just be a sketch, an impression, an idea. And then you go back to your studio and you can do a full-on big completed painting. And I often will start a painting on location and then come back and finish it in my studio the next day. So don't rush, don't pressure yourself thinking it has to be like completed in a short period of time. And I do like to also paint canvases on stretcher bars. This is my preference. It's not everybody's preferences, but I like to take small canvases. This you can sit on your pallet box, and it's easy to transport if you're traveling locally. Now, I used to travel with a pochade box, and they are heavy. So I don't always recommend those. And the thing about a pochade box is they're pretty remarkable. And I have one now that's lighter weight, but I still find I don't use it, because the thing with a pochade box is that there's little grooves in it, and it will hold wet boards. So if you paint on a board, you can stack it in the box, and it keeps each board away from the other. And a lot of the group of 7 painted on boards for this reason when they were on location. And if I was to go to Europe or go painting in Italy, I would take my pochade box, because there's not going to be any chance of carrying a wet oil painting onto the airplane. Oils take time to dry, and so that is why you need the pochade box, so you can paint on board. But that is a completely different feel, and I, for one, prefer painting on canvas. It's got more movement and more groove, and it's flexible, and it's really, the way I like to do things. But yeah, keep that in mind. If you're going to be traveling and you can't lay your canvases out to dry for days on end, use a pochade box. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you is about this easel that's sitting right here beside me. It is a small little travel easel, and it comes with a small little bag, and it folds all up. It's lightweight, and I'm hoping you can see, that's my cat behind me, right here where the easel is sitting. There are little clasps behind it that is holding the, right there and right there. That is what I recommend. Some of these portable easels have a brace, a bar that goes all the way across, and the brace attaches by hanging on 2 screws. I do not recommend that. I recommend these little clasps. So this folds all up into the tiniest little bag. It's lightweight, and it's really easy to move around. Some of my students have a beautiful French easel, and it comes with a box that carries all of their tubes of paint in the box and holds their canvas while they are walking. And it has its benefits because it will hold the wet canvas. But the downside to this is that it can be heavy and it can be difficult to set up and to take down. So, there are pros and cons to each way. For me, I prefer the lightweight plastic easel. And these are oil painting paintbrushes. My other little suggestion for you is to do some watercolors. Let me just show what sometimes when I'm not, this is just a small little pen and ink. I do a fine tip marker and then I do a little watercolor. When I'm on location and I'm pressed for time, when I don't have a whole day or several hours to, oil paints are a big undertaking at times. They're not always easy to transport the wet canvas. So if I've only got a short period of time, or if I'm out visiting with people and I want to just sit and do a little sketch, I can do that. So I do that with my watercolors. Here's my little watercolor palette. My little watercolor is easy to take in and out. This has got a lid, this palette, and my little sketchbook, a pen, and different paintbrushes for watercolors. Keep that in mind. So it's a lot less cumbersome to do some watercolors, but you don't get the finished beautiful canvas. There's something special about oil painting. So I'm a bit biased when it comes to oils, but there are definitely moments when the watercolors have, their place. I do enjoy just going off and, if I've only got a half an hour or 45 minutes, I'll take my watercolor paints. Right now, I'm a little bit not painting, and I'm thinking I'm going to take, maybe even possibly this afternoon, I'm going to take my watercolors out to the deck and see if I can get my brush moving again. Last week, I discussed being in a dry spell. Sometimes you just got to do something that's going to be a quick win. You want to really succeed at something, and sometimes doing an oil painting can be a bit overwhelming. So let's see what happens. What are your thoughts? Have I missed something in my supply kit that you find is an absolute for painting on location? If so, drop me a comment, let me know, and I would love to share that with our viewers. And I would also really like to know what you would like to talk about in my next 10-minute Monday. Maureen is one of my viewers from last week that sent me a note and asked me to discuss supplies for painting on location, and I hope this has helped. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to share what I know. All right, have a great week, everyone, and I will see you right here at the same time, same place next week. Have a good one. Bye for now.